good drink to share with everyone?
Yeah, it's Baraka. Get that vitamin C into you during flu season.
Roche hasn't
Trust
been well.
me, I'm a doctor. What?
Yeah. What's your PhD in?
Corporate law.
Corporate law. Okay.
Yeah. So
If
you
you-
know, now is my time. I was
Yeah.
just ahead of the curve, man. That's what happened.
God knows there's so much going on. And you know, and if you were, well, just look at the States alone. The stuff that's going on there is just crazy.
Oh.
Yes. So.
Or here, but I can't. Like, I have got. You know, I don't want to pick a fight with the British government today
you do.
on my
Go on.
first day back.
They're not listening.
so
This
I'll-
is the preamble. It's okay.
No, do you know, I have to write it up because they're making such a dog's dinner of a piece of legislation that's coming in, and there's no good reason for it. And I'm looking at it, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help our businesses. It doesn't help our businesses enter the EU market. It doesn't help them find a space globally. It's inadequate. It's such a poor performance.
Yeah. But other
So
than that, it's
anyway,
good.
but no, other than that, that's just the tip of the iceberg, Tim.
Yeah. Nick, we should say we can hear your keyboard very loudly if you decide to type in the middle of the podcast, which I suggest.
I will stop. I could. It's not even the mechanical one.
Is it not?
No, that would be.
Can
far
you hear my
worse.
chair?
Yes.
Yeah, a few little squeaks, but that's okay. That's atmosphere.
Okay, ambience.
All right. So, who's murdering a keyboard? Afternoon, everyone. People have missed you, Roche. Look at this. Wonderful. Feels like months. It has been months since you've been with us.
Oh,
But,
thanks.
I've
missed you guys.
It sounds like my knees, says Nicole. Okay. So, running back. Who's doing the technical stuff? So, Darian will be editing it later. But I've set it all up, so expect it all to go crashing down with a loud thump in about half an hour. Okay, my dad is apparently he's missing us all.
Oh,
It's comforting to see that he misses you equally to how he misses me. So, thanks, Dad.
I'm the kid he wished he had. That's it.
Do you think that's it?
Hi, surrogate dad. Yeah, exactly. Big shout out.
As you may, we'll probably come into this actually. It's the danger, isn't it,
Okay.
doing a long preamble, is that you start to anticipate what you might talk about during the show. So yes, anyway, here we are going to explain where Roche has been, everyone. So fear not, that's actually the opening segment of the podcast. In the meantime, any questions from people on Discord to stop me accidentally going over what we will be talking about in the actual podcast? Nope. Okay. Nick, if you were going to be a professor, what would you be a professor in?
Cats.
Me?
No, you're already. No, actually, no, you're not. You're a mere doctor. If you're going to be if you were going to be a PhD in any subject apart from cats, what would it be?
I don't know. I don't think I have an expertise in anything particularly.
You're pretty
Cake
good
making,
with a plotter.
biscuit baking, plotting. I could do that. Yes. Okay. I was gonna grab a prop, but I'm not.
Okay. Well, you definitely have. You guys have the neatest back office of the three of us. I can say that quite simply. William Kirk, when is the Christmas quiz? That is going to be the 18th of December. Will there be a pod on the 25th of December? No, there will not. No, it's going to be a bit weird actually because of the way the dates fall. Because obviously 18th is a Thursday, and it's the 25th. Weirdly, we're not going to record a podcast then. And then, of course, the next one is the 1st of January, which I think most people are not really going to be in the mood to record a podcast then. So it is actually looking like the first podcast of 2026 will be me and John at CES. So I'm afraid you're going to have a whole, 3 weeks between podcasts. I don't know how you're going to cope.
Back catalogue. Hello.
Back catalogue. That is true. Yeah. This is episode 700 and ridiculous number. It's 780 or something.
plenty
Maybe-
to choose from.
Yeah. It's kind of tempting just to hand the keys over to the podcast studio to people on Discord and say, "Hey, just create your own. Let's see what happens." But that's probably a little bit too risky.
I'm going to go back and listen to the Christmas quizzes.
Are you?
Because
to look for clues?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Yeah, because Darian is very much a creature of habit,
Yeah, you're right.
and there will be themes that he will return to, and there will be questions that he will not ask again. So I don't need to know any of them. And then he definitely always does a bit on, what's happened throughout the year, but then he throws in like real doozies, which require you almost to have written a book
Yes.
on computers.
Yeah. Who would do
Can
that?
can we go into Teams this year?
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea actually. That's a good idea. Ooh, Roche. Yes. Good
Right?
idea. Yeah. Okay. All right. With that thought, I'm going to actually call it because it is 1 p.m. If you
Okay.
have put the keyboard down, Nick. Resist that temptation. Okay, not quite like that. Okay, we're starting. Hello and welcome to the PC Pro podcast. It is the 27th of November 2025. I'm Tim Danton, Editor-in-Chief of PC Pro. I should just drop that in each time and just not even bother saying it because I say exactly the same thing by rote each time. But nevertheless, that's who I am. Who is with me today? Nick Rawlinson is here.
Hello, Tim. Are we all in height order on your screen, or is it just on mine?
It's just on
It's
yours.
like me, you, Roche.
It's in order of which people join. But anyway, this is very
It's like
dull
no
for
hair,
anybody
some
listening.
hair, most hair. You're being weighed down.
Yeah. So I should say, if you just listen to the audio podcast, we do record live, as we've repeatedly mentioned, on YouTube, and you can join our Discord server to actually to share in the discussion with everyone. PCPro.link/Discord. Anyway, this is all getting in the way of my introducing Roshni Thuma, who is here after a very long absence. Rosh, can you remember when you were last here?
It was before July.
Before July. I think June
Yeah.
traditionally comes before July.
Well,
So-
it may have been May, but it
Oh,
was
really?
definitely. I couldn't because I was in France, which,
Yes.
by the way, I nearly died of boredom there. But that's a longer story.
Okay.
And then when I came back, it's just been work.
It has been work. And so we're actually going to start off with what on earth is Roche? This is a section called What on Earth has Roche been doing and why has she not been on the podcast? So Roche, what have you been up to?
Okay, so I've been hyper focused on building something, and I've essentially moved into a kind of a monastic lifestyle in order to build this thing out. And what it is, do you know what? I'm going to take a step back and I'm going
Okay.
to tell you where all of this came from. So, you have to bear with the story because the payoff is at the end, right? Okay.
Okay, everyone
So
sitting
it's on the-
comfortably.
Yeah. Huddle round, boys and girls. Story time. Yeah, so I was on the beach and I found a woman and she was unconscious. And I had 20 years ago done a first aid course. And what happened was everything that I had trained to do 20 years ago sort of came flooding back. Airway, breathing, circulation. Phoned 999. I was able to convey to them where I was, which I usually can't do because my sort of internal GPS is terrible. And I thought, I'm like the poster girl for delivering and communicating what I'm seeing on the ground because I had the framework to be able to do it. So then I had a conversation with my cousin, who was a medic out in Afghanistan. And she said, medics, that's how they operate, so that you can build in consistency, defensibility, across the board. So, if a bus goes off into a ditch, you triage everyone on the same basis: airway, breathing, circulation, disability, environment, whichever hospital they go to. And then what that means is that you can take a doctor from hospital A and drop them into B. And so then I ended up speaking to a whole load of other people who are professional risk managers, and they have frameworks for doing it. So pilots have frameworks, lawyers have frameworks,
Yeah.
but we don't have any framework or methodology in governance to manage cyber risk. And I thought, okay, we need something that managers and people operating at the strategic level, boards and executives, can use every day for their decision making, that is defensible, and then they can also use it on their worst day. So they're essentially all of the time developing that muscle memory so that in the event of a crisis, they're able to deploy what they use every day. And that's how we came up then with Rapid T.
Okay, so effectively, this is a framework, a triage framework. Is that the best way of saying it? To assess cyber risk at any one time. So you're hoping that this could be a worldwide standard.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so what I've done is I've done a couple of things. First of all, I have aligned it with the legal obligations. So there's a whole host of legal obligations are coming in through, EU. You've got DORA, Article 5, management need to do certain things, NIS 2, Article 20. But even here in the UK, the directors in a company need to exercise reasonable care, skill and diligence. What does that mean? They have to have a method for doing it. In the same way that you sort of have accounting principles, we need something that signals to the market that, number one, the board understands, and number two, that what they understand is actually defensible. So essentially, when I was building it, I thought, okay, what do you want to have in place on your worst day so that when the class action kicks in, you can say, aha, but this is an artifact that we have and this is how we implement it.
Yeah.
And
So the equivalent of collapsing on the beach, basically.
Exactly. You're not going to be a risk management expert, but you are going to be able to understand how to make the good decisions in the moment because you've been making them in that same way all of the time.
Okay, so I'm going to stretch the analogy far too much now. This is like a first aid kit that you're providing to all the organisations so that they have at least the initial steps.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not just for on their worst day. It is so one of the things that will happen when the regulator, if anything happens to you. So look, you can have suboptimal outcomes, right? You can get behind the wheel of the car, leave your driveway and kill someone, but that doesn't necessarily mean you'll be done for under the Road Traffic Act or reckless driving, because it depends on the facts. And if you've done everything that you reasonably could, then you can escape. Point in fact, do you remember when we were talking last year about, remember Mike Lynch, the guy from Autonomy?
Autonomy, yeah.
Yeah, when that boat sank, within a couple of days, there was a guy that he worked with who was also, had just been, his name was Stephen Chamberlain.
Yes.
And he was running across a humpback bridge and he ended up getting killed. Well, so the woman who was driving the car didn't face any charges because the facts of the matter were, she wasn't drunk. She was driving to the speed limit. Her car was, operating within the normal parameters. He ran across the road in the dark, in dark clothes, and ended up getting hit. And so you have a suboptimal outcome, someone's dead, but you have someone who doesn't face charges. And in the same way, we can take that kind of logic and apply it to businesses. You may have a suboptimal outcome, but provided your car is in good order, you know what you're doing, you have all of the paperwork, then you don't have to also deal with like layers of complexity and consequences because you haven't taken those steps.
Okay. And so in terms of so you set up this business, or set up this framework, because the business already existed.
Yes.
So who have you signed up so far?
Okay, well, so I'm not going to talk about that, but I will tell you.
Oh, come on, Roche.
No, well, first of all, if there's one way to make people head for the door, it's talking about them on. But I will tell you this, because the rules, so the regulation that I'm answering operates for 400,000 companies across the EU. In Ireland alone, NIS2, it operates against 4,000 companies. And then there's 5 million companies here. Not all of them will need it, but absolutely everyone that's operating at the FTSE 350. So Monday I'll be pushing out a white paper and then it will become really clear why this kind of visibility is what it's going to signal to the market.
Okay. All right. Well, unless you've got anything else you wish to add, I think that gives a pretty clear idea of why you've been too busy to appear, even on the best, podcast in the world. I think it's been officially acknowledged now, hasn't it?
Can I say one thing?
Of course you can.
So just in case anyone thinks, gosh, that woman, what a brain. Thank you. But
You can't say thank you for anticipating what people might have thought about you.
No, but wait, it's the next bit.
Okay.
Okay, so it is. I work with an amazing bunch of people. That was it. I have just surrounded myself with people who are absolutely first class. I mean, they eat Risk for breakfast. I've got there's a brilliant woman out of the United States. She literally wrote the book on supply chain. She's been brilliant. The guy who went into SolarWinds in 2017 and said, guys, here are your problems, here are the solutions, here's the money you need to pay. He's on board with it. This isn't like, the way they say it takes a village to raise a child. Assume that Rapid Tea is a child. And then I've pulled this amazing, we've got an honorary advisor who's a serving officer in the British Army. I mean, can you get anything cooler than that? I don't think so. And so, yeah, and then with the former law enforcement guys, and I just feel, my cup floweth over. So it isn't all me. I'm just the kind of the glue that's pulled this together.
Okay, I'm with you. And we do have one question actually from Cole on Discord server who asks, where can we find out more?
Oh, well, go to rapid-t.com or rapid-t.co.uk, and then you'll find everything you need to know. And if you don't, contact me directly.
Okay, and that's where you'll release the white paper on Monday, presumably.
I will release it, on the articles site. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And in case you are wondering, despite that huge and modest brain, what Roche can't do is apparently oil her chair, which is the squeakiest chair in the world's existence. So, in case you're wondering, what on earth is happening there? Okay. Let us move on to the second story. And sorry, Nick, you've been very quiet. I apologise for that. But I'm just going to start with the highlights from the budget yesterday from a tech point of view. And I'm just trying to, obviously I'm not trying to cover everything, but what was in it and what wasn't in it that might have been nice to be in it. And again, Nick, Roche, just pitch in and interrupt me, because that's absolutely fine with your own thoughts. Excuse me. So the biggest news is probably investment in skills and apprenticeships, because that's definitely, in terms of where we are as a country, there is a big gap. There's always been a skills gap, obviously, but it's never been as big as it has been now. There are fewer opportunities probably now for young people. So anything that can be done to help is a good thing. So the government yesterday pledged 1.5 billion for employment and skill support. Now, what I've not investigated is how much that money is new, because as we all know, when governments talk budgets, what they do is they have a tendency to reiterate what they've already announced and dress it up as if it's all new. But anyway, as part of that comes a youth guarantee, which is 6-month paid placements for 18 to 21-year-olds, which actually, if it does happen, is brilliant, because there's nothing better. You just need to get your foot in that door. Now, I've got kids around that age, and it can be very difficult to actually just establish experience, because people say, well, what experience do you have? Well, I don't have any. Give me some experience. I'm not going to give you any experience. You don't have any experience, etc., etc. So this is a good thing. Now, of course, it's been a whole 13 minutes of the podcast, and we've not said AI yet. So our official podcast technology license would be withdrawn if I didn't do so. So the government announced, and again, some of this is re-announcing, up to £2 billion of investment in AI infrastructure by 2030. 1 billion of that is to expand the AI research resource, which is a kind of hazy umbrella term for lots of different things, which I'm not going to go into here, but basically to improve the country's AI posture. 750 million for a new national supercomputer. Now that is, again, simply reiterating what we already knew, which is that there's going to be a supercomputer built in Edinburgh. We do not yet know what the specs are going to be. Controversially, they've dropped the term exascale from the description. So we will see whether or not it is exascale. Arguably, well, I would certainly argue, if you're going to build a supercomputer in the UK, if you want to be competitive with Germany, with Japan, with America, then you need to have an exascale computer. We do not at the moment. So we'll see what the actual final thing turns out to be. And there's AI growth zones in Wales expected to create 8,000 jobs. That was also talked about yesterday. A minor thing. By the way, like I say, guys, just interrupt me. I'm bored of my own voice already. You're very free. So in terms of health, there's a £300 million extra just accredited to NHS tech. But that's on top of £10 billion already allocated. So how much difference is it going to make? Hopefully some, but who knows? And as part of that, they will be expanding the use of the NHS app, supposedly to give us better access to health records and integrated urgent care navigation. Then we've got some HMRC digital transformation, they're calling it. So that's an overhaul of our tax systems with real-time data-driven prompts and mandatory electronic VAT invoicing from April 2029. Exciting, this, isn't it?
Not really.
Okay. Enough of the bullet points. Roish, what are you hoping for? Anything from and what were you hoping for?
More accountability for spending our money on stuff that just doesn't work and isn't necessary. So, remember we had this 130 million spent on Birmingham City Council, but we've got the most extraordinary kind of waste throughout the country, and then we're saying at the same time that we don't have the money. We absolutely have the money. We don't have a mechanism for holding those who are at the strategic level to account, because they don't get the visibility on who's spending it, what the scope is, and then you don't have, and none of that is new stuff. So I mean, the budget could have, I don't know what the 300 million the NHS is going to be spent on, but unless we start to sort of constrain the people who are spending that money and then hold them to account and see where we're getting value for money, we're going to end up, this isn't a tech problem. This is absolutely a governance problem. It just really grinds my gears to see it.
But it does tie in with technology. There are plenty of solutions out there that give you access and a dashboard view of what you're actually spending the money on and how effective it is. And I was speaking to someone who's the RVP, Regional Vice President for IBM Aptio, which is exactly what it's meant to do. Nick, what about you? What would you have liked to see in the budget?
A decent explanation for this national supercomputer. We're a country that has traditionally sold off all of our assets, like water companies, railway companies. We got rid of Eurotunnel for some bizarre reason. We got our share. And when you ask AI to explain something to you like a 5-year-old, I'd really like someone to explain to me, like a 5-year-old, the reason for building our own national supercomputer when there is so much capacity in the world for computing. Why are we investing in something that ultimately is going to go out of date when we could be relying on third parties and commercial organizations to be building something that we just rent time on? What's it going to be used for?
Well, I can answer some of that if that's, and I can't. I don't know whether you'll feel like a 5-year-old at the end of this, but I went to the launch of the supercomputer in Bristol, Isambard AI, and I spoke to some of the researchers there in terms of what they're using it for. And for them, it's drug discovery. It's one of the big projects that they're doing it. So the idea being that if you own your own sovereign supercomputer, then you can provide, let's say, 10% of that resource entirely free to your academic institutions. Whereas if you are letting space on a commercial supercomputer somewhere, let's say the Frontier, which will be rapidly replaced, but that's currently US based. If you're doing that, then you'd have to pay the market rate. So that's the thinking behind it, that the government can kind of do this big investment, and then obviously in partnership with the universities, in this case Edinburgh, and then or Bristol in the case of the of Isambard. That's the theory behind it, but is that convincing to you, Nick, or not at all?
No, ultimately. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got huge upfront costs. Yes, you're going to get it back through over time. I need it to be sold to me more convincingly that there is reasons why we need to be owning this kind of transient infrastructure that is going to go out of date over time, when we don't own things like pipes that bring the water or the gas to our houses that are going to last for decades, if not centuries.
Gresh?
So Nick makes a good point, but I would say, so I'm a big fan of sovereignty. I think we should own and control within this island, or within our sort of nation, everything that we need to sustain ourselves. So he's right, pipes, rail, the whole shebang, ports should be within our control.
Yeah.
But I also think cloud infrastructure needs to be, anything to do with telecommunications, anything to do with computing. We need to look, 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, we could have said, oh, we're all friends, and isn't, kind of like kumbaya nonsense, right? Like, that world doesn't exist. It didn't exist. We just didn't realize it. Now we've got to lift our head out of our cornflakes and start adapting to the real world that we're in. And I think Nick's point, sovereignty of all of the utilities is important. But then I think that actually that makes the case for a sovereign computer.
And these things overlap as well. And the way that supercomputers work is that they have that period of it's like a sine curve, a sine pattern. You have that period of slow kind of utility gradually building up from the very start, the moment it gets switched on, and then you get the full usage and full understanding. But then by the time it starts to come down, you should be having another sort of supercomputer coming online to actually take that load. That's certainly the way it should be. But I think historically, certainly in the UK, but bear in mind, so in the 1950s, the UK was actually the number one in the world for building supercomputers. We had the Atlas in Manchester. We had some of the most brilliant brains, some of the best software as well. When we led the world. And then the US took over. If the UK had actually carried on, and obviously there are loads of reasons why it didn't, but if they had, then we would have had. I think things would have looked very different in this country. So I suppose what I'm saying is that I feel quite strongly this is an area where we should invest in, and should attempt to actually build on our. We do have a lot of very talented software engineers in this country. Let's give them the hardware. Let's give them the platform that they need to kind of push the economy on to the next stage. Because we haven't before. We let it drift in the second half of the 1950s. We let it drift, and it's never come back. It's my opinion. So yeah. But in terms of there are lots of areas where I agree with you, though, Nick. In terms of we shouldn't be letting companies like ARM disappear off our where we are. That should be absolutely a key part of the what gives Britain a competitive advantage. Because as we move into the end of this century, what are our advantages going to be? We're a small country. We do not have natural land resources. We never have. So yeah, what can we bank on? And if there is one thing that we've got, it's actually a lot of very talented. We've got a lot of higher education institutions which do amazing work. So yeah, this is why I think having a supercomputer is good, because it arms them with something they can actually, build on that competitive advantage with.
Fab. I feel like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I don't know. That's only my my view. Anything else in the budget that wasn't in there that should have been there? From your perspective, Nick or Roche? I'll turn it round. Anything that you were glad was there, anything that you really do support, Nick, I'll turn to you for this. Anything that you look at that and you were heartened.
Yeah, I mean the paid placements. As someone who's got a nephew who's looking for an apprenticeship at the moment, and it's not easy because obviously they come out at certain times of the year. If you miss that intake, then probably you're going to have to wait 6 to 12 months for the next. And what do you do in the interim? You find a job that might not be the beginning of a career, but it's a job to see you through. I think the idea of having these 6-month paid apprenticeships, which obviously are going to be a benefit not only to the people who are not apprenticeship placement, which are going to be a benefit not only to those who are going to get some experience as a result, but to the business as well. That's going to have a little bit of spare capacity, one would hope, as a result. That's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, and it actually ties in with the other point that I'm talking about, which is it's the brain trust that you're building in the UK. So it does make an awful lot of sense to have that. Roche, anything that you saw that you were glad to see?
Nope. No.
Really?
Kind of.
So you were just looking at it thinking this is a pile of steaming manure.
No, I just, there's a lot of money being spent and we've seen a lot of waste, and I just would have liked a sort of a headline act on, governance and accountability is going to be front and center. And if there's money wasted, we'll hang you by your thumbs from hooks in the town square, and start to see that, because we have the technology, we have the capability, and we need to start to, we need to, people need to be prosecuted. It can't just, like, great Michelle Mone is being prosecuted, but there's a lot of stuff out there that has underserved, like even, the Ministry of Defence, for example, and it's underserved and it hasn't met the spec and it's inadequate or there's a shortfall, and we simply shouldn't be paying for that, and there should be remedies.
Yeah, and transparency, which is fundamentally what it boils down to, isn't it? Transparency.
100%. Yeah.
But it's just so unsexy. That's the trouble, Rush. It doesn't make a good headline in the Daily Mail, does it? Government does a radical creation of more transparent guidelines for for the UK. Hooray!
I don't know, but you know what? We don't have to create anything new. Like literally all of the processes. Our system has been copied and pasted right across the world, and it's absolutely, when it's implemented properly, it stands up to scrutiny, and we have better outcomes as a result. And I'm not saying this isn't novel. Let's just go back and implement everything that we know works, and stop wasting money.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to stick on the subject of governance with you, Nick, and the next story.
This is a good news story, I think, and it's always nice to get a good news story. Well, it's potentially going to be a good news story if it comes to pass, but the European Parliament adopted a proposal to ban social media for under 16s. It was non-binding, unfortunately, but it was approved by 483 with 93 votes against and 86 abstaining. And the idea is anybody under 13 would be totally banned from using social media. Anybody between, 14 and 16 would be able to use it with parental permission. So that's going to be the next, when you've got the kids obviously pestering you to get a smartphone, then a couple of years later you're going to have the same pestering again to go on social media. It's not only social media that will be banned, it's also video sharing platforms and AI chatbots. And it comes in the wake of a report that said 1 in 4 minors are displaying problematic smartphone use comparable to addiction. And one of the reasons for this, or many of the reasons for this, include things like infinite scrolling, where obviously, I think I'm as bad as anyone else. You just carry on going because the feed just gets longer and longer and you never reach the end. And auto playing videos. President Emmanuel Macron said that social media algorithms are creating a culture of harassment, bullying and extremism, that social media platforms don't contribute to freedom of speech, but in fact foster a Wild West environment with little oversight. And the big news, of course, in relation to this is that on the 10th of December, Australia is going to implement its own ban on social media for teens. Looking at the details of that, the companies involved are required to deactivate accounts for under 16s and also ensure they don't make social media accounts below that age or face fines of a very specific $49.5 million up to. I don't know why they didn't just go for a nice round 50. There were some platforms named, such as Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube, but not things like TikTok Kids and LinkedIn. Others could be added to the Australian list over time if there's a big influx of younger users fleeing to those platforms. Obviously, not everyone's happy about. Sorry, Tim, go on.
I was only going to say they should definitely give them free reign to use LinkedIn, because then they'll give up on social media in despair. They'll just go, "Oh my God, is this social media? Please leave it out." But sorry,
I don't have a LinkedIn account, so I wouldn't know.
Do you not? It's awful. It just becomes so bad. Just people virtue signaling all the time. Anyway, sorry. Carry on, Nick.
Are you going to say I wouldn't need to use the block that I use? Because I've got a block on Instagram that I've implemented, because I looked at the stats and it was horrific how much time I was spending doom scrolling Instagram. So somebody recommended an app called OneSec. And what it does is it gives me a minute of Instagram, so not a second. And then the whole screen blanks and I have to take a really deep breath while this thing goes up and down the screen. And at the end of the breath, it says, "Do you really want to continue?" And I would say 9 times out of 10, I actually tap no. And the app then is frozen for a set amount of time. And I physically can't then use Instagram. And my usage has just fallen through the floor. And sometimes it says it's like 3 days since I last tried to go on. So it's been great. But I've also didn't realize there was a Christmas party coming up on a particular day. And I've stuck it on the calendar in one day. And then there's a Secret Santa that I have to contribute to. All of which they're going, "Well, we stuck it on Instagram. Did you not see it?" And of course, the answer is no. But as I say, my usage has gone through the floor.
What's it called again, that app you're talking about?
OneSec. I'm going to check, but I'm pretty sure it's called OneSec. I'm using it on iPhone. I don't know whether it's available on Android, but I'm sure there would be equivalents. It's not only for Instagram. You can block one app if you're not paying for it. Otherwise, you can pay and block multiple apps. But I've chosen to block Instagram because that was my Achilles heel.
That's the rock you're perishing on. Do you know what? So years ago, I haven't been on Twitter in like probably 5 years, but this is what happened. I also looked at a report on how much time. I wasn't even really an active tweeter. I was more like an active scroll. And then I saw how much time I was spending on it, and I took it off my phone, signed up to do a course with Harvard, used the time that I was spending on Twitter, did this like 11-week course or something with Harvard, and never went back. Like, even if do you know what? It's like, even if it's 5 minutes a day, it's junk. That's a waste of 5 minutes, you know?
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with wasting time. Let's just say that we are all allowed to waste time and procrastinate and all the other things. But yeah, I completely hear you. Nick, you look like you've got something to announce.
Well, I've got OneSec here, and it says OneSec has lowered your urge to open all apps from 45 times a week. That was what I was doing, to an average of 6 times a week, which means you've already saved 7 hours 9 minutes in about 3 weeks. It's prevented me 143 times from going on my chosen blocked app, and it predicts that over a year it's going to save me 1,768 visits, which will let me reclaim 3.7 days.
Come on, there's no way that's a good use of anybody's time. Look, if
you're saying what Nick was doing before rather than reclaiming his time, I presume.
I'm saying what Nick was doing before was quite obviously a terrible waste of time, and good for him for like sorting it out. But I don't know if I subscribe to your view that like all downtime, you're allowed to have downtime, but you know, social media for like, it's not good for you. And it's not good for your thinking. It doesn't help to grapple with difficult subjects. It gives you zero nuance. There's no context. There's no filter. There's no verification. Oh man, I'm really on my soapbox now. I just think it's just it's an abyss.
It is in the piss.
Yeah.
So what this legislation? Let's go back to the EU. So what they are, and it's not binding legislation, as you say, Nick. So actually, what are they saying? Are they encouraging countries to create their own legislation to make this reality? Is that what this motion is in favour of?
Yeah, at this stage, that's as far as it goes. It's a sort of an urge to countries to do it themselves. I think it would be difficult to find consensus, probably, because, some countries rely quite heavily on social media for official business. Even our government puts out quite a lot of stuff on social media, doesn't it? And I think it would be easy to argue that blocking social media entirely would disenfranchise people who are coming up to an age where they could vote, especially for countries where they're looking at reducing the voting age, as we are, in fact, to 16. It would be argued that I suppose that there are elements of social media that do give people access to valuable information. I take what you say, Roche, about having to be very careful about what you're looking at and understanding nuance and things like that. But at this stage, yes, sorry, a very roundabout way of answering the question. This is advisory, it's non-binding. But Ursula von der Leyen, who is the president of the European Commission, has said that she's going to be watching what's going on in Australia with interest, and she is putting together a team that could offer advice before the end of the year.
Okay, Roche, double question for you then. Are you in favour of this, and do you see any legal issues?
Okay, so yes, I'm in. Okay, so I'm in favour of, however you achieve this end of doing it, children under 12 should not have access to social media. Was I allowed to play with a circular saw when I was under 12? Absolutely not. Was I allowed to use a circular saw over 12? I might have been like 15, but it was supervised. Why? Because the harm was so evident to my parents who, I wasn't living, with Mary Poppins and the nanny Fran. They were just regular people who could see, actually, there's a couple of things that we don't want our kids doing, and parents should be doing it. So I think if we can't do it at a kind of a micro level, and we need to get the government to do it at like the macro level, at a national level, and say, because it isn't just about children, is it? It's about the direction our country is going to take if we allow children to go down these rabbit holes. So yeah, I'm all for it in whatever way, shape or form this comes into being. And it might just be that this is enough for schools to say, we're not going to it. Primary schools, your child isn't allowed to bring a phone in, and at least you and then the parent goes, these are the rules, what can we do? But yeah, I'm all for it.
So the Colonel Panic on Discord has put a link to teens are challenging the law before the High Court in Australia because they feel like it's unconstitutional. And there's been this. I haven't clicked through to that story. That's on BBC, but I believe the argument is usually about free speech and that you're blocking free speech by not allowing children to have access to this.
There are other channels. You don't have to only speak on social media. I mean, you can express opinions in all manner of ways. It's just that obviously you get a wider audience frequently on social media. It's not. I don't know. What's the definition of blocking freedom of speech?
Yeah. And I think that's going to be a difficult argument to sustain. I'd be just interested I'm not going to make the argument for them. I'd be interested to see what argument they submit before the court. Because I think, no one's gagging them. You're just saying you can't use this piece of technology. That's an uphill battle for them.
And the laws of free speech were made in a time when there was no technology to do the mass broadcasting in the same way that we can now. So it doesn't really feel like it's directly applicable. But you'll notice that I'm not a lawyer. So.
Yeah, but that is a good point, though. It's like, you're still free to say what you want to say. You're not free to use that platform. That's very different. Somebody else had it, and it's much more succinct. You have freedom of speech. You don't have freedom of reach. That's the issue that we're trying to address, I think, with this.
We should, how Buffy the Vampire Slayer had the musical version of the episodes, and they were great. We should do a version of the podcast where we just have to rhyme at the end of every line. So
If it rhymes,
I'll
it
stop
climbs, Tim.
there. Exactly, it works so much better.
Can I just tell you the worst piece of rhyming that has just delivered the worst outcome as we're on the topic? The Germans had it was like I think it was Handel Dork Vandal or something, or Vandal Dork Handel. And
Yeah.
what it was change through trade. And what they were trying to do was that they said, this is our new economic policy, and this is how we're now going to engage with Russia. Vandal, Dork, Handel, change through trade. Where did that get us? That got us, we filled Russia's coffers full of coin, and then they invaded Ukraine, as they said they would in 2014 and again in 2022. If it rhymes, it climbs. That's my line, by the way. I think that you're 100% right. People buy into stuff.
People do love a rhyme.
You know,
Happens
if the
all the
glove
time.
fits, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Oh, okay. Yeah, OJ totally didn't do it.
Oh yeah, you gotta love a mnemonic. Oh god, I can't say it. Anyway, let's rapidly move
Yeah.
on to the fourth
Okay.
and final big story, which is with you, Rush.
Okay, this is huge. So, guys, I don't know if we're going to have time for the whole thing. So this is what happened this week. CrowdStrike confirmed that an insider had taken screenshots and then passed them on to a criminal group calling itself Scattered Lapsus Hunters. We're going to call it SLH for the rest of the story because I'm not a 15-year-old boy. Okay, so those screenshots later appeared on SLH's Telegram channel, where the attackers did three things. One, they claimed they paid the insider $25,000. Two, they advertised, so it was like a recruitment drive. Come on, give us your inside screenshots and we'll give you money. And then they posted victim announcements as well, so that's target lists and extortion dates. CrowdStrike says no systems were breached, but that isn't the story. That's only a bit of the story, and it's not the interesting bit of the story. The interesting bit of the story is SLH, which are a criminal group, have told everybody how it is that they are doing what they're doing. They're doing this through insiders. Criminals repeat what works, and that's well understood, by the way, that criminals do what works, that we even have a Latin expression for it, MO, modus operandi. This is their MO. They get insiders. So then what I did was I then looked to see who had written on the SLH analysis and what are they called? Hold on there 2 seconds, because this is important. Push Security. So Push Security did an analysis of SLH's sort of target attacks from like 2020 to 2025. And then the biggest pattern that they found was that they just log in. So number one, you've got them telling us that they use an insider. Number two, you now have Push Security doing an analysis of all of these attacks. We'll speak about some of the attacks in a moment. And then telling you that they log in. So they log in, right? Okay. So why this login break-in model matters. So every SLH linked case starts the same way. It looks like stolen or purchased credentials, or MFA fatigue, or help desk, or contractor impersonation, or social engineering. So it's an identity first crime. It's not malware. Okay. Microsoft documented Lapsus, which is part of the SLH. So the SLH is a mashup of like Scattered Spiders, Lapsus, and these other guys, and then they merged and formed this SLH. But back in 2022, Microsoft were warning people that these guys were using insiders and the login details. So now, what was it that Push Security found? So they ran an analysis. By the way, they ran the analysis like last week before the CrowdStrike thing. So there's 5 major cases that I think we really need to go back and revisit. One, do you remember the MGM casino?
Yep.
Okay,
The
so
huge
that ended
breach.
up,
Yeah.
it was absolutely massive. And can I tell you what? At the time, I was like, was this an attack? Because remember, you had one person essentially gave the keys to the kingdom across. So, I mean, that's not a failure of technology. That's a failure of controls. One person shouldn't be able to do that and then exclude everybody. But, excuse me. So it cost them 130 million in lost revenue. And then we don't know, I think, how much they paid in ransom, in blackmail. Transport for London, same guys. 2024, it's reported that it cost 39 million. Marks and Spencer's 2025, same bunch of people. How did they get in? Service desk impersonation. Oh, did they? Did they really? Oh, I was fooled. Okay. 136 million lost there. Co-op. 2020 in 2025. Similar help desk ploy. Customer data stolen. 206 million. And then, top it all off, Jaguar Land Rover 2025 that your grandchildren are going to be paying for, because that's all fallen on the taxpayer. Impact 485 million quarterly loss and like 200 million in direct response costs. The CrowdStrike bit is only a bit of the story. By the way, I found a really interesting article by Krebs on security, and what he did was he was able to identify one of the characters in this SLH as who's a 15-year-old boy living in Jordan. Go and have a look at the bigger story. So your next thing is you're going to say, well, what can businesses do? So much for like no money. So split the keys. One person shouldn't have the keys to the kingdom. That's number one. You need to fix your help desk. So you can have callbacks should be verified with a number, work from a real ticket, require manager approval, control third-party apps, make approvals tamper evident, de-risk insider recruitment, adopt a no-fault. So this is what they should do: adopt a no-fault bribery reporting policy, and then if someone gets offered money for access, then report it, protect the employee, don't punish them. And because remember then as well, sorry, I've got the sun has now in my eyes. Do you remember this was reported about 6 months ago where you had a BBC tech journalist turn around and say, oh, I've been approached?
Right? I don't remember that.
So we've had, so there was the BBC tech journalist who turned around and said, oh, I've been approached and actually it looks legit. We had CrowdStrike just recently, and then we had Rippling and Deal with, so we know insider threat. It's no way that these are the three unluckiest companies in the world.
No.
This is happening at scale. And it's the most obvious, cleanest way for the bad guys to be able to get in is to cut somebody into that deal. There you go.
And what can we do? What about the fact that in this particular case, and I completely get your point that it's very much the tip of the iceberg, but in the CrowdStrike insider case, it seems that the person has just been disciplined and let go, and there's been no, there's no fine, there's no potential jail time. So what can we do there?
Well, so I think the police have been called, actually.
Right.
But another thing that they could do, so if the police have been called, then there's very little.
Oh, you've gone very quiet for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh, is it because it might be because my voice is going.
Okay, all right. Oh, this is
I want to be in that patch of sunshine, don't you, Tim?
Well, I was thinking, is it a patch of sunshine, or is it the Russian government actually just targeting Roche?
No, it is. The sun is coming right in. But is that better, by the way?
Yeah, I think it's better. Yeah. I can't remember the point you were making. You just pick it up and as best you can.
And then just run with it. Yes, so it could be the case that the police were already involved, in which case they won't be able to say anything because it could prejudice the trial or the outcome. But if that isn't happening, it absolutely should. And another thing that should happen is that other businesses should be absolutely clear that this is what that guy did, because he will do it again. That's the thing, MO. People do what works for them. Now, I've been making this point about law firms for the longest time. When you see sort of deposits for houses just evaporating into thin air because it went to a law firm, the simplest way to explain that is that there is an insider there, and no one has ever really looked at it. And so you know, you don't have to have a tinfoil hat. We absolutely know now that insiders is a significant problem for businesses. Listen, you mentioned the Russians. We've just had, there was an MEP just got convicted of assisting the Russians and has gone to prison for 10 years. We had a case collapse against the Chinese, or not against the Chinese, against 2 civil servants who were, we know that this is happening. We need to be, you know, we need to be mature about it, and we need to start addressing and fixing it. And there are ways that we can do it. But absolutely, I don't know whether it's like, oh, shall we just be kind and not say these nasty things about, no, we've got to really interrogate what it is that's happened. Follow these people, go back, reopen the MGM casino case, find out who was the person responsible, and find out where they are now. Because I think I made the joke, I bet he's sitting in a hammock in like Mexico, sipping a pina colada with like 2 million in cash, because they took whatever they took in ransom. And at the time, that was kind of facetious, and I believed it, but I had no evidence. What do we need to, like, you know, does somebody need to put up like I don't know, like a balloon with, this is how we do it? That we know how they're doing it.
Yeah. Whew,
There.
okay, all right. Thank you, Roche. A deep breath, I think, at the end of that one. I'll just do a couple of comments from Discord. This is from Jeff Campbell. If a company treats employees like disposable, interchangeable parts, they're going to treat the company with contempt. 21st century business writ large. Ali Kalman says that the ICO says that ministers can keep their criminal convictions secret. Not quite sure that relates to, actually. Anyway, he said earlier, data protection and privacy is being used to hide bad people within companies. You cannot give a reference without the people seeing it. The ICO is gravely at fault for this situation. You're raising your eyebrows, Roche, but I'll give you a brief response time because we are running a bit behind. But carry on. What's your response?
Well, first of all, if there is certain information that you are allowed to share, you can, one way of signaling like a reference is, well, first of all, you can refuse to give a reference, right? So then that should put the other side on notice that maybe that there was something untoward that's gone on. You can't write a bad reference unless it's absolutely true, but you are allowed to write a bad reference if it is true. And then also the rules that bind people with respect to information is you are allowed to share information that is true about people if it's you are allowed to get a lawyer involved in it, but this can be done. It's not a blanket policy of, oh, you're not allowed to say it, or it's not even a blanket policy if you've been convicted of something that you're not allowed to say it. All of this is supposed to be proportionate. So yeah. Anyway.
All right. No, thank you. All right, let's look on to Nibs. And actually, Roche, you are first up.
Oh, great. What is it about? Oh, it's about the guardrails coming off the...
Yep.
So this is happening on both sides of the Atlantic, and there's a sort of a softening on the European side and a complete loosening on the US side. What does it mean? I don't really think it means terribly much. We still have laws that protect people. So you have to think, well, what is the harm that you're trying to ensure that people are able to avoid, or if there's a mechanism for that? We still have all of those things. I don't see AI introducing any novel threats, so I don't really see this as being problematic for consumers generally.
Okay, and I will just briefly say that according to the one of the bosses of PwC, basically they did a few years ago, they said they were going to invest a huge amount of money and get 120,000 new people in, new kind of grads in, and now they've 100,000, sorry, and that's in the 12 billion investment. And now they're basically saying, oh well, maybe not actually. So they've dropped that hiring target. They've also dropped 5,600 jobs from their actual global workforce anyway. And they're saying, well, the time is very different now because of AI. And in fact, this could be a much bigger story because we do talk about it a lot, but just the way that AI is just taking all of our jobs. Apart from podcasters, actually, I say that there is a very easy, there's a podcast creation tool that actually creates quite a compelling podcast between people, and they don't talk over each other. They have no talk. There's no squeaking chairs. So
But where's the
what's even
fun
the
in
point?
that, Tim?
No, exactly. All right, and Nick, third nib with you.
Oh, an AI story. Nvidia's share price dipped and Alphabet's rose after an announcement that Alphabet might start making the AI processors that it relies on, Tensor processing units, available outside of its own data centers. At the moment, companies rent them within Google's premises. The news followed a report that Meta planned to spend several billions on Google's AI chips. And it's pretty significant because Nvidia currently has, apparently, according to CNBC, around 90% of the market for AI chips. And it's not going quietly, or in fact, it's not going anywhere at all. Obviously, it's still going to be a huge player in the game, and a lot of this seems to be speculation. But Nvidia pointed out that it is still a generation ahead of the industry, and that its platform is the only one that runs every AI model and does it everywhere that computing is done. Full stop.
Yes, NVIDIA says that NVIDIA is great. All right, thank you very much. So for the hot hardware, and this is with grave apologies to Barry because I'm taking his spot here unfairly. I've got a keyboard. Hooray! I was going to do a phone, but it just became too complicated because I still need to do loads of tests in it. So anyway, let me hold it up to the camera there. This is the Cherry Xtrfy K33, which is currently only available at Currys. Now, let me tell you a few things about the keyboard before I tell you the price. It's quasi-mechanical, so if I start typing on it, you will agree, I am sure, that this is that sounds like a mechanical keyboard. It's got that kind of distinctive clack. However, it's actually using what Cherry calls mechanical. They should be punished for this, but it is a combination of the two words membrane and mechanical. And so the idea here, Roche is rolling her eyes. The idea here is that you still have the membrane service. So most keyboards use a membrane service where you press down upon and that registers the input. There's still that membrane service here, but instead of having just a direct kind of connection between the bottom of the key and the membrane surface, they've got it's more directional. There's more of a prod, which is what gives its kind of nice defined depth when I press on it, but also helps give it that sound. So that's why they're calling it mechanical. What you're also getting, so this is called a 10 keyless design, so there's no number pad, there's no 10 keys, and it's 75% size. So this is meant to be a nice compact keyboard that you could perfectly feasibly shove into your bag. It's about 600 grams, and take with you on your travels if you, like me, get a bit sick of typing on a laptop keyboard for a huge amount of time. And also obviously helps with more versatile setups and stuff. I always take a mouse. I always take a mouse with me wherever I go. If I go abroad, I tend to take a keyboard as well. So it is useful to have that. What else is there to say? Well, if you're not watching, you can't see that this is white, and it's also got RGB colouring. This is not per key RGB. So you can't actually say, right, want the A key to light up or the WASD keys to light up, but you can set it to do different patterns just by shortcuts on the keyboard. So you can have, for example, a rainbow thing going or a solid blue going or something like that. Or you can have a solid white, which is arguably the nicest looking one. And then it's entirely wireless. So what comes with it, you get a RF key. So RF USB thing dongle to shove into your laptop or whatever, or it connects over Bluetooth. There's 3 different concurrent connections it can have, which you flick between, and it can also obviously charge over. You can go via a cable as well, so it's all selectable via a little prod at the back. So it comes with 1.5. This is how you also charge it over USB-C. and your battery life will very, very much depend upon the backlighting you choose. Switch it completely off and you'll get several weeks. Have it on, have it flashing all the time, and it will just last a couple of days. So those are your choices. It does recharge fairly quickly. There we go. How much does it cost is possibly what you're wondering. Are you wondering? So the answer to that, well, have a guess. How much do you think it's going to cost, Roche? This is Cherry, which is a German manufacturer, and they are well known for their high quality keyboards. So bear that in mind when you have a guess of how much it costs.
£25.
Okay, Nick.
I think that's a bit ambitious, but I don't think it would be in hot hardware if it was really expensive. So I'm going to say £40.
It is £40. So in fact, it's £39.99.
Oh damn!
Which I think
we both weren't right, Nick.
No.
But you would have won because I went over.
Yeah, you were massively wrong, Nick. So it's, but Wondercool says 40 plus £30 import duty. No, it's not actually. This is you can buy this from Currys. Like I say, it's exclusive at the moment to Currys. It will go on sale more widely. So yeah, there you go. That's what I'm putting forward. Do you have any questions for me, Nick, on this exciting
I did.
keyboard?
I wrote them all down as you went, and then you answered them all in turn, which was like, what's the power supply? Does it do Bluetooth? Does it do multi-device? And I think you did say it does multi-device.
It does. Yeah, it does multi-device, which is actually quite good. And actually, just for you, Nick, this is a question that you might appreciate. So again, useless to people who aren't watching the keyboard, watching the podcast, but I'm putting it up there. You can see that the keys are actually dual labeled. So if you are using a Mac, then you've got that obvious shortcut there. So you've got the Option key, but above it says Windows. So just usefully, it does map to both operating systems. I'm pretty sure it supports. You laugh, Roche, but I use keyboards sometimes
I'm so
where they
underwhelmed by this. I'm out of.
Shut up, you. And then you've got so it's got that kind of nice labeling. So
the trouble, but muscle memory, you see, the Windows key. So I'm on a Mac at the moment. I'm using a Windows keyboard, and I've changed the layout of those bottom three buttons on it because muscle memory makes me touch the wrong one. So on a Mac keyboard, and I've just checked it because I've got one down there in the box. Alt is Command, and obviously the Windows key is not Command. And I'm guessing on there you haven't got Alt and Command together. You've got Windows key and Command together, have you?
So it says you've got Alt and Command are sharing a button.
Oh, okay.
And you've got Windows and Option are sharing a button as well.
Oh, okay.
Too much detail, anyone? What do you reckon?
Probably for Raj, yes.
Well, first of all, I think they should rebrand it and call it Mechanical. That's number one. Number two, I honestly couldn't be more underwhelmed by a keyboard. Why is it a QWERTY layout? I mean,
what do you mean? Why is it a QWERTY layout? That's the standard. What do you want it to be?
Yeah, exactly.
Dvorak?
Why? Okay, right. Let's take a step back. Right, 1 second. Why did we have a QWERTY layout? We had a QWERTY layout not because it was optimized for typists, but because when we had that old mechanical typewriter, the keys used to get jammed. So what they did was, and they tried to slow people down so that the hammer would fall back into place. So there's no reason we should be on a QWERTY keyboard. Number one, it's more difficult to learn. Number two, it is suboptimal. It's inefficient. Let's move forward. We can type faster than 50 words a minute. What is wrong with everybody? We need to optimize for productivity, not inefficiency. Okay, so that's number one. If they're going to do a new keyboard, do a new keyboard. We already have a new design, which we know is better. It's just that everybody's learned on QWERTY, but you'll very quickly relearn.
If they put Dvorak out, it would
do
sell
we need
7.
the clack? Do we need the clack? And do you need to light it up like it's Christmas? I mean, if it was by Fisher Price, I would totally get it. And if you said, now listen, if you had toddlers running around the place and they can have at it with their jammy fingers, whatever it is, I'd be like, oh, okay, I see the utility in it. This, I'm not buying it.
No, I can tell that, and I've got a sneaky suspicion you're voting not. That's where
Well,
I'm
at
edging.
£40, I can get a keyboard, which is underwhelming, and a mouse for like 20. So why would I spend 40 on one that goes clack?
Have you used a mechanical keyboard?
Huh?
Because I don't think you have. If you're this critical of the price,
No, I don't.
mean,
Of course,
love,
I don't have a. Who needs a mechanical keyboard?
Me.
A
I love a mechanical.
mechanical.
I'm not using one now because we're on a podcast, and even this is apparently too loud. But I've got a mechanical keyboard there waiting to plug in again. It's great.
Oh, it's like
noise
like
is the
you
whole
on
point of it.
keyboard, it's like having Neil Peart in the background, just the drumming on it.
Why do you love a mechanical? Well, actually, sorry, we are a little bit over time. So very quickly, why do you love a mechanical keyboard so much, Nick?
I like the feel of it. I'm not sure. What was this called? Macranial or something? This one.
Memcanical.
I'd like to try it out.
Memcanical.
Memcanical. I'd like to try it out. I'd like to see what the difference is because I think that might be the sweet spot for me. It might be the best of the two keyboards that I have. I just love the feel of mechanical keyboard and the noise makes me feel productive.
Well, do you know what? This is the ultimate chance for me to say, well, Nick, if you say it's hot, then who knows what might happen in your life. So do you think this Cherry Extrify K33 keyboard is hot or not?
Well, go on then. I'm curious to see what will happen. It's hot.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. I don't know what I just set myself up for there. And Roche, I think we're safe to say that you are a not.
Well, yes, and also I would like to put on the record that that's an awful lot like bribery. So,
But Roche, what I will say in my defence is it's transparent bribery. So,
no,
you know, fair enough.
very good.
All right, so I am going. I'm going to go hot as well because I think 40 quid for the quality that it's actually an offer, and the typing experience that you're getting, I think, is actually very good value. However, what I see is that pretty much we are alone. Nick, and I are largely alone because if I scroll all the way up to the poll that Running Dat very kindly set up, we've got 84% saying not and 16% saying hot. So I think overall we're going to have to say it's a not. Okay, I think that's it for the podcast. Oh, go on, Roche.
Did I win?
It's not like that. You know, what effectively has happened is that I've lost. And that
Potato,
is what
potato.
always happens. Whenever I suggest anything, but also whenever we put a keyboard on, I think it's pretty much loses every time anyway. So yeah, there we go. All right. Ian Nock is suggesting, by the way, you do the next keyboard labs. So there you go. I'll send 20 keyboards your way. Yeah, Roche, you. Okay, thanks everyone. Until our next podcast in a week's time. Oh, Michael Deere says, I think we all lost. Until our next podcast in a week's time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, yes, well, there we
That
go.
was so much fun. Oh, it
That
was
was
so
good
nice
fun,
to be
wasn't it?
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was great. Thank you.
No, it's you have been very much missed. Obviously, you haven't been following the whole Discord thing, but your name's come up a
No,
few times.
I locked myself out of Discord a while ago and
Yeah.
haven't figured out how to get back in.
Yeah, the other good news is that your voice lasted out, even despite the flu you suffered from. So
Well, I'm really at the tail end of it. I can't, I can't lay it on too thick.
yeah, okay. All right. Well, luckily Darian is going to edit this. I don't think there were too many things apart from when I accused the Russians of beaming lasers at you. I think we're okay. Right. Anyway, thanks everyone for
Brilliant.
listening. Yeah, like I say, someone, it won't be me, but someone will see you next week. All right.
Excellent. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.